All right, let's get going here. We are going to be doing a Shield Crest Slayer run to A10, and from there, we'll see how it goes. All right, so we are doing a Shield Crush Slayer run to Act 10, and maybe on to Eater and Exarch after that. Um, with this run, we're going to want to start off with muling a ranger. The reason why we're doing that is for extra currency, a look at the vendors, and also we get momentum support, which just helps with links early, or helps with a couple of our skill setups early. So it's nice to have. And then if we get bad RNG from the vendor, we can also use the frost blades that we can take as a quest reward until we find a shield that we want to take for Shield Crush Slayer. In terms of the shields that we're looking for, is we are going to be looking for a goat hide buckler at level 1. If we can get it. If we can't, no big deal, we'll just use frost blades. And then beyond that, what we will do is we'll look for a pine buckler at level 8. We can also get a corroded tower shield at level 5. One of the things to keep in mind is we are looking to get shields that have intervals of 15 armor or evasion on them, because that's how the Shield Crush gem works. We want to reach certain breakpoints to be able to get an additional flat benefit from the skill gem. So we've got a corroded tower shield here. This will get us 2 things from the gem, which is fine. We'll take that. Also take that. And then I didn't see a pine buckler, so that's pretty much all we're going to get from this vendor. Ideally, what we're looking for Shield Crush is a red green or a green red. One of the annoying things about Shield Crush is that Ruthless support does not work for it, and Chance to Bleed isn't all that great with Shield Crush for clearing. Chance to Bleed is fine for single target until you can get better things, of course. And I'd recommend not using it once you have access to better red gems than Chance to Bleed. But if we end up with the red green, we'll do Shield Crush, Chance to Bleed, momentum, and then if we end up with the green red, we'll do Shield Crush, Chance to Poison. That'll give us flat poison damage, and obviously chance, and momentum again. Either way, we're going to look to keep momentum in our links for Shield Crush because it just adds to our quality of life. We want to make sure we keep both the default starter sword and the sword that always drops off Hillock on Duelist. Because we don't rely on the main hand weapon, what we can do is use it to have like consistent links to have a shield charge momentum setup, or in the case of the one that is the 3-socket of all the colors, we can use that one for like a Frostblink setup as well.
Stay sharp out there.
One thing to note there is that I had to buy Shield Crush from the vendor. Duelist does not get Shield Crush as a reward from Tarkley, so you just want to keep that in mind. We did get a Goat Hide Buckler, so that means we will be Shield Crushing. Usually at that first vendor, I like to buy a like a Rustic Sash or an Iron Ring. I just kind of skipped doing that this time, which is okay. We'll make up for it later. Alright, so what I'm looking to do in mudflats here is to get to about 3 2/3 or 3 3/4 in terms of level, because that'll allow me to pretty consistently get level 4 by the time that we tail rake, and that's important, because it enables us to get consistency and be able to swap to shield charge right away. It's really annoying having to swap to shield charge and like otherwise put on your level 4 gems in the middle of submerge, like pretty deep into it. It's nice to just do it at the start of submerge. So getting a lot of transmute drops, which is nice. Get some currency going. Alright, so we're going to be able to actually hit level 4 here, probably off these roas. We'll just keep going, that's alright. So one of the things to mention about this run, is I talked about wanting to get a Pine Buckler at level 8. We're going to do that by checking the vendor or gambling. With the gambling mechanic from town, we want to make sure that we are level 8 because that's when the Pine Buckler can first start dropping. It needs to have a minimum drop level or eye level of 8. And so being character level 8 will help us get there. And usually it's pretty reliable to get the Gamba for the Pine Buckler from the Gamba in town. So if that doesn't work, we'll check the vendor. When we go back to town, I'm going to take lesser or chance to poison from the rewards, just because I already have chance to bleed and the other gems don't really work for us. You could take a second momentum, that's fine too. And then at the vendor, what I want to do is I also want to buy a Blood and Sand. Where's Blood and Sand? I'm totally whiffing on it right now. Blood and Sand is right there, perfect. We'll go ahead and buy a second momentum, and we'll use that second momentum for a shield charge setup until we get faster attacks. And then additionally, I actually missed one thing, which is you want to get a dash, and the reason we want a dash, even though we're using shield charge, is in case we need to go up any ledges or anything. It's nice to have. And then we'll also pick up that rustic sash that I forgot to buy the first time.
I can't do this just yet.
Alright, so with Submerge, what we're looking to do here is usually get to just right around 5. It's great if you can hit 5. If you don't hit 5, it's not a big deal. Closer is better. And then for ledge, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we try and hit about... we're going to actually do the goat path in ledge. But by the end of ledge, we kind of want to be around 7 to like 7.25. So with the goat pathing the ledge that's coming up here, what we want to do, especially on something like Shield Crush, which doesn't XP like super well early, is do at least a partial portion of the goat path to make sure our XP is fine. Because hitting level 8 to be able to do the Gamba in town after return from Dweller is very important to get the Pine Buckler, because that Pine Buckler will really help the damage that we do to Brutus. So we will make sure we go down the goat path at least for a little bit. In fact, I will probably in this particular run go down the goat path entirely. One thing that I didn't mention before is, you know, we keep the default swords. One of the nice things about these default swords is that they have the global accuracy implicit, which helps. The early accuracy and helps with PT once we eventually go and get PT. and that's the goat path. That was a pretty short goat path, actually. Nice little shortcut through there. We're about 6.5, a little under 6.5. So our XP wasn't great because our goat's path was actually a little shorter than anticipated. Alright, so we're just under level 7, which is alright. And then here, like I said, we want to get to around about 7.5. Getting a half level in climb is usually pretty doable. Especially if you've got like a giant pack like this over this way. Then typically there'll always be like another decent sized pack around the area where the fawn used to be. Where Iron something or other is now, the skeletal archer is. I forget his name. We'll see when we go past what his name actually is. Iron Point. Alright, about 11 minutes to enter. That's typically about a minute slower than like sort of where normally aim for. Not a big deal. We will end up making up that time eventually because Shield Crush has pretty fast, or Shield Charge ends up having pretty fast traversal time. Now one thing that we want to do here, which is a little bit different, is that we want to make sure we get a little bit of dex on the tree. So we're actually going to pick up that dex node over there, and the reason for that is Duelist does not get enough dex by its own to be able to equip a Time Buckler at level 8, and I don't want to rely on the vendor to always have a Jade Amulet, so we just go ahead and take that dex node. We'll end up respeccing it later because we will go dex pathing towards PT eventually. So we'll hit 8 off this, which is good. This essence here, because we're not essencing up weapons, we can use it on a shield if we get like a normal shield that we want. And basically all we're looking for on the shield is just percent armor, or flat armor, or flat evasion if you're doing that, or percent evasion as well. Alright, so I've got this triple red chest piece. What I'm going to do, and I've got a bunch of transmutes, is I'm going to be added fire and main support for my links. Like I was mentioning earlier, I'm not really a huge fan of chance to bleed. Now we're going to go for the Pine Bucket Gambler. And we did not get it, which sucks. Our gold is actually a little lower than it normally is. Usually you can buy 1 or 2. Or usually you can gamble at least twice. So we couldn't gamble twice, which is unfortunate. So we're just going to roll on. What we'll do instead is we'll woe essence our shield there if we have to. That we currently have, but hopefully we'll get a Pine Buckler to drop as we're going through this zone.
I can't do this just yet.
If we don't get a Pine Buckler, what we can do is get what I believe is called a Rawhide Tower Shield, which is the 11 rank base. So that'll be our other target we can go for. In terms of XP for this zone, we're looking to get about 9.25 by Brutus. This will allow us to level up gems again. And gives us a little bit of extra passive points. A strength on the string we assign points, so that's always helpful as well. Getting to level 10 is not necessary and probably a bit overkill. XP in prison on melee is really annoying because of the accuracy and damage debuff that Enfeeble applies. And the density of mobs here is always a bit like sporadic and weird, so. So it's, the level 4 gems, by the way, that will level up again at 9.25. I think I misspoke earlier and said the level 1 gems. Alright, we'll go ahead and low essence that. Nice, we got a little bit of armor, which actually brings this up to 3 bonuses that we get from shield charge, because it has more than 45 armor. Good. Or shield crush, excuse me. Here, we'll just place that totem down, and then we'll put on blood stance and try and maintain enough space to be able to double hit off Brutus. If you're too close with shield crush to a target, what ends up happening is the overlaps like get a bit weird, so you want to be just slightly off the target if you can. Be like not right on top. I'm gonna go ahead and buy a Frostblink here.
God hasn't abandoned us.
Then here we'll pick up Intimidating Cry. And we'll try one more Pine Bucket Gamble. Nope. Alright. Well, that happened, unfortunately.
I can't do this just yet.
So when you see a portal scroll drop in Act 1, you always want to sort of check how many portal scrolls that you have in your inventory, because you want to make sure you have the portal for the cave if you need it. Here I already had 2, so I didn't really need to go back. We'll just use what we have in inventory already and roll on.
I almost feel sorry for these doomed sea dogs.
Here we're going to pick up the attack speed nodes, and we'll path towards the Art of the Gladiator there. Then once we get Art of the Gladiator, we'll spec these 2 shield nodes that are right there, and then we'll start going to PT after that. The other thing that we probably want to get from town eventually is precision. We can wait till coming back to turn in the skill point from the way forward in Act 2, or we can buy it after we kill Fairgraves here. Just depends on your transmute situation. Here we have 4 transmutes. We got a lot of transmutes in this act, so it's not a big deal to grab it. So you're gonna see a lot in this run with shield charge that you end up like doing a lot of like failed shield charges because of like pebbles and stuff like that. A tip to help with that, and by the way, I don't always practice what I preach here, is trying to hold your cursor a little closer to your character, because you'll still shield charge. You won't shield charge quite as far, but typically that can help with some of the collision issues that shield charge has if you're trying to do like a max distance, like first replacement shield charge.
If you must.
Alright, so we have a bunch of extra currency here. We're just going to go ahead and buy this precision now. We're going to also buy a second shield crush, and we're going to level that up in the offhand. The reason why we're doing that is in the second half of the campaign, we can actually get
Still alive.
like a General's Cry setup going to help us with supplemental damage. Oh, there's finally a Pine Buckler. We are going to take this because it is another flat tier over this rare shield there, which is good. And then we have a little bit of currency left over with these 3 scrolls, and we'll just check the vendor to get a iron ring if one is available. One is. Great. So we'll take that.
I can't do this just yet.
Another thing that's good to check the vendor for is a Lapis amulet. Eventually, we can unequip that Lapis amulet and just click the 30 attribute node that's down by PT, but at least early, it helps solve end problems.
Didn't even break a sweat.
I'm actually going to start passing down towards PT now, because one of the things I forgot about when talking about that Lapis amulet thing there is we actually need a little bit of intelligence to be able to put Power Bash at level 16. So if we don't get a Lapis amulet from the vendor, we'll just go ahead and click that node as soon as we can to be able to put Power Bash. One nice thing you can do on my Shield Crush build is you can use your armor scraps pretty generously early, and it'll give you additional armor based on quality for your shield. We're actually going to wait to use the one that we have in my inventory until we get an enamel buckler at level 16, which is the next base we're looking for. Enamel bucklers are really strong. Then after the enamel buckler, we'll be looking for the 25 or the 24 strength base. Get the name off the top of my head of what it is. So in terms of the amount of alterations we're going to need to be able to get the things that we want to get is we want to make sure we have enough alterations to buy Blood Rage and Herald of Ash, which is 2. So by the time we're done with the first quest, we want to have those 2 alterations lined up. From a quest reward, we will end up taking Poacher's Mark usually because it's the easiest one to get, 'cause it's top left. If you don't have any alts, or you don't expect to have any alts, you probably want to take Herald of Ash first, or Blood Rage instead. But here we have one that we just got to drop. We'll identify a bunch of these items, sell them. Got another 2 alts, so in a good position. We do have a Lapis amulet, so we don't have to worry about picking up that attribute node. Now we're just trying to hit PT. So in terms of what I'm looking to do here, in this act is usually I like to be about level 13 or so entering the Chamber of Sins. I am that already. And by the time I'm entering Sins 2, I want to be near 14, if not 14. So we're looking good on that front. Our XP seems pretty good. Hopefully it'll stay that way for a while longer. Then ideally, by the time I'm leaving Sins 2, I'll be about 15 or maybe just under 15. Then the big breakpoint that we're looking to hit with all this is we want to be 16 by the time we're doing Weaver, so we can equip the 16 gems to give us that strength boost to help us kill Weaver. So as always, when I'm starting to expect to equip a bunch of gems, in this case I'm expecting to get 3 level 16 gems with the currency that I have, I always want to start planning my socket colors ahead of time. So I open my inventory here, right? I've got a free red socket for Herald of Ash, great. And then I also have a bunch of green sockets for Blood Rage and Poacher's Mark. And then with PT, we also want to make sure we're paying attention to our accuracy values, and that's why I picked up that precision earlier. I don't think I'll need to use precision right away because we have the global accuracy sword and we'll have the additional accuracy from dexterity, but eventually I definitely will be using PT as well to help maintain our accuracy amount.
There is a fine line between consideration and hesitation.
Okay, now that we have a Lapis amulet, we can actually switch this other sword, and we can instead use this because we will be able to get Frostblink, which is good. Frostblink is definitely better than dashes for a variety of reasons. One thing we always want to be looking for is a blacksmith whetstone still. Even though we're using shield crush, you can always exchange a whetstone for armor scrap at the vendor to be able to get armor scrap to quality up your shield.
Suspense. I can't do this just yet.
We want to make sure we don't level up our Frostblink too much to save a mana cost, so make sure you right click that off when you see it leveling up, and then after that you can start clicking on like leveling up all again.
Hello.
Alright, so we're going to pick up Blood Rage and Herald of Ash here. We'll sell off the other items.
Goodbye.
Poacher's Mark.
Going?
And we're just about 15, which is where we wanted to be, leaving Sins 2. Now, one downside about Frostblink is it has a fixed range, so sometimes there are some bridges in riverways where you can't actually skip over. If that happens, you just path downwards, and usually there'll be a connection to the south that'll allow you to get up where you want to go. We're going to pick up with this heavy belt. Because we're going to be using strength bases and we're pathing to PT first, our strength is going to be a little out of whack for a bit. So it's nice to have that in our inventory for when we actually do start needing more strength. We can start throwing away some of these other gems that are just lingering here. We'll keep one green gem around to be able to get a topaz ring if we find an iron ring drop from the vendor recipe. But otherwise, all the green gems that were not actively are being pitched. Like the active skill gems. We do not want to pitch our support gems. We'll just keep those in our inventory for a while still. Okay, this blue pack should get us to level 16. Nice. Then we'll be one level off PT, which is a little bit of a bummer, but that's okay. Man, I am like running into like every dead end of the planet here for like no reason whatsoever. Alright, cool. Now, in terms of the gem we're going to take from this reward, we're going to get Melee Fizz. You can also pick up Rage, but I kind of don't prefer that. In this instance, I'd rather get Melee Fizz, and then we'll get Rage later on the tree.
Goodbye.
We're at level 16, which means we can gamble for a enameled buckler now. So we will go ahead and do that. We'll go here. And we get one off the rip, and it looks pretty decent. So we'll actually take one of our armorers and use that to get it up a little further. Then we will continue on. Now, in terms of doing the bandits, typically I like going to Kraylin first, and then after Kraylin, I'll actually go do the stuff in like the Felshine Ruins crypt area to get the skill point in trial. Then I'll go kill the rest of the bandits. Part of the reason why I like doing it that way is it just ends up making sure you have nice levels to go bop Oak pretty easily, because Oak's tanky. It doesn't super matter the order of how you do like the crypt stuff. Like you can do crypt after you do all the bandits, or you can even do crypt before going over to do Weaver.
A pity your mind wasn't as swift as your blades, Bridge.
Because I have a red green and I like having momentum on my links, I'm going to swap my stuff over to that. Typically with Shield Crush, I always like Shield Crush doesn't have the best ability to like affect attack speed. You need a lot of nodes on the tree. So having like a gem that helps with attack speed scaling on the links is very nice, especially for single target. Doesn't impact the clear too much, and there are other gems later that you can get, like multi-strike, which are also nice for attack speed scaling. The issue with multi-strike though is that it kind of messes with your clear a good bit until you have like a really good shield. So I kind of avoid multi-strike until I'm like in maps. And deep into maps. Just use momentum instead, and eventually I swap off momentum. Okay, we have PT now. We're gonna check our accuracy levels. We have 365 accuracy, which is more than our health. So that's good. It's not a huge buffer, so we will actually throw on precision in one of the open links that we have. And we'll get precision going. And so we have 507, which is a really nice buffer. With that, what we're going to start doing is we're going to start investing into some health nodes, because we haven't taken any health nodes yet, and we want at least a few to not be squish central for when we go to the boss. So we'll pick up these in the middle here, and then we will also pick up the shield node, hopefully these 2 shield nodes after that. Alternatively, if you just want to go full damage, you can go pick up the Fire Mastery Wheel that's by PT. It takes 1 dex, and then it takes an additional 5 points after that to fill out the wheel like you should. The nice thing about that wheel is it gives you Ignite chance, and then you can get the Mastery for 100% increased damage with hits against ignited enemies. Identify that ring, and it doesn't really have the stats I want on it, so we'll just go ahead and sell that. Cool. Then what we'll do here is we will go to the crafting bench. We're actually going to put fire res on both of these. This is typically what I'll do with my speedrun setup, is I will get a sapphire and topaz ring. I'll get a sapphire in Act 1. And usually I'll have a topaz ring in Act 2 at some time, and then before I enter Val Ruins, I'll make sure to get the fire crafts on them. And the reason why we do that, the fire resistant crafts, is that the explosive archers in Val Ruins are like Omega, so, you know, it's nice to have that little bit of extra, like, defense and backup.
Well thought, Oak.
Here what I do is I'm gonna actually go back to Act 1 Town real quick. The reason why I do this is when I go to Act 1 Town and I log out after doing the remainder of Western Forest, it'll put me back in Act 1 to turn into the way forward right away. If you haven't bought Precision at this point, or you are not using Precision, you want to make sure you buy Precision when you go back to town for the way forward. Hey Vital, how's it going?
There.
One thing I didn't mention earlier, but that I did do, is that after you either do the Weaver quest, and you have to go talk to that gem dude, anyways, whatever his name is, Silk, you want to talk to Helena real quick. The reason why we do this is talking to Helena will put her in our hideout, so we have a vendor right away in our hideout, which is nice. You have to do this, obviously, after you complete the Baleful Gem quest in Chamber of Sins, otherwise she won't show up. You have to talk to her, otherwise she won't show up either. So, just a little helpful tip, it's always good to have a vendor in your hideout for things.
This guy.
Ready, excellent.
I believe I could give the great Dresser a run for his money now.
So in Northern Forest in particular, there's a tendency to want to hug the coastline. That's actually not the optimal way to navigate the layout. There's something like 12 layouts in this zone, and for all of but 3 of them, the best way to actually navigate the zone is to hug the left wall when you come out. I would recommend doing that and just hug the left wall up. And the reason why that's the case is in a bunch of layouts, essentially the coastline is closed and you have to navigate to the left wall anyways to like get around the blockage on the coastline. Alright, go pick up that because we have a red chest anyways. And that's just an upgrade on the low base. It doesn't take much time to go back and get it. Because we have Art of the Gladiator, we don't really need to worry about movement speed penalties on armor or anything. Typically, I don't worry too much about the movement speed penalty on armor, even without it. I typically find having the extra armor is more beneficial than worrying about the movement speed penalty. Now, obviously, if you're like in a true like race condition, then having every incremental advantage you can get is good. So in that case, maybe you don't want to wear the body armor. But for my purposes, I will chill with that body armor on, and often body armors are a good way to get extra sockets to alleviate socket pressure issues that happen in early acts. So we're at 21 here, which is good. Typically, I like to end this act around like the end of 21 or the start of 22. We didn't really talk much about breakpoints, so I'll go ahead and do that now. We talked earlier in the act about what you want to get sort of like in the first half, but by the time you enter Vol Rooms, you want to be 18 typically, and then by the time you're exiting Vol Rooms, you want to be about 19. A lot of people get lost in Vol Rooms. That's perfectly cool. It's a good zone to XP in anyway, so you can make up some XP. And then Northern Forest, you want to make sure you get 20, ideally more towards 20 and a half, 21, and then essentially use the caverns area and the ancient pyramid to get whatever XP we need to get to like 21 and a half or so, which is where we ended up. So one thing you'll notice, I mentioned this earlier, we're having strength issues because of the fact that we have left pathing. So we'll just go ahead and put on this heavy belt, which will fix that. If you don't have a heavy belt, you can always just click beef there, and then eventually you can respec beef out. One thing I forgot to do was put melee fizz on my main links. Oh, not good. Hit by that guy. Very easy when you're doing speedrunning stuff to sort of like leave stuff lingering in your inventory for a bit or not have like the perfect setup for stuff. That's totally okay. One of the things you always want to think about is just trying to figure out how to move forward like as relentlessly as you can. So okay, sometimes if you don't have the optimal setup or like the right setup at level 18, level 21, whatever it may be, we always want to make sure on a character that's not using Leap Slam to pick up that movement speed craft. Even with Leap Slam characters, you want to pick up that craft. But especially since we're not using Leap Slam, we're using Shield Charge, which benefits from how fast your movement speed is. You want to pick up that craft, and eventually we will put MS on Boots when we can. MS on Boots requires 3 augments to craft. And an open prefix, of course. We use this time as we run to clean up our inventory a little bit. Don't really care about those scroll fragments now that we have identify all. We'll also keep that flask around for a while. That flask may end up being like our final flask in the run. Typically, I like using a greater mana flask through like the entirety of the early acts on duelists, because if you use too good of a mana flask, it essentially just ends up filling up like right away on a melee character because you have no like intelligence to scale your mana pool, or not intelligence. You have like no nodes that like realistically interact with your mana, where casters will like just get some by virtue of being a caster. I do think intelligence gives mana as well. It does. Okay, I don't see a trial over the right away. When I don't see a trial over there to the right away, I kind of like checking the other areas first. We should see the trial now. Yep, there we are. By the way, I misspoke when I was talking about the base we were looking for. In Act 2, we were looking for a painted buckler, not an enameled buckler. We will look for an enameled buckler later in Act 5 at level 42. The next shield base we are going to be looking for will be the 24 strength base. It's a tower shield. I think it's a copper tower shield. Then after that, we'll again look at level 30 at another strength base to upgrade our shield.
That somber expression doesn't become those fetching features at all. Cheer up and dance with me. Don't be shy, duelist. Touch me. Enough of this!
See you.
So we're going to start checking the vendor for 4 links at level 24-ish, or when we return from the sewers, because then by then 4 links can start appearing. We're not going to gamble for a 4 link until we hit level 25. Usually that'll be when we're returning from the docks.
I can't do this just yet.
So, there will always be one bus before the waypoint, and then after the waypoint, you'll either see an big open room like that, or you'll see a closed room. If you get like the closed or like tight room, you want to head downwards or to the right. If you get the open room like we got there, we want to head upwards to find the third bust. Usually returning from this quest, I usually like to be around like 23 and a quarter to 23 and a half. So we're a bit higher than that, which is good. We'll check this, we'll turn our skill point in, then we'll check the vendor. See if they either have the shield base we're looking for, which is a copper tower shield, or a 4 link. We see neither of those, so we will move on.
Greetings. There is nothing else.
We don't need to do library on this character. You can if you want. We will eventually have a General's Cry set up, but typically I find it's just easier to wait on this particular character till Lily to get that going. The reason why you have to wait is we don't have a way of reliably generating corpses. You could get it going early. Most bosses do summon corpses at some point, or ads that you kill that become corpses, but not all. So that's sort of why like I don't bother with setting it up until I have access to Desecrate, and there's not much benefit to doing library on this particular class. The only other thing we'd be picking up would be Desecrate and Fortify support, essentially. We could just wait until Lily to do that, because our damage will be good enough without doing that stuff. here, leaving docks, I like to be about 25.5, and I like finding the unique mob that gives an essence. So the Sorrow Essence here is pretty nice. One of the good things about a Sorrow Essence on a melee class is it's a really easy way to get Dex on your belt, because a lot of the melee classes that you play with Duelist or Marauder typically will path more towards the left side of the tree and eventually have some Dex issues. So by getting a Sorrow, what we can do is we can use it on whatever belt we're having to make it rare and get Dex on a suffix. The one downside of this is with Dex as a suffix on a belt, we lose out a spot for resist potentially. But we'll go ahead and do that now. Cool, and we have an open suffix for a resist, so that's a pretty good belt that'll stick with us for a while. Eventually we'll change it out, probably like way later in campaign. Unfortunately, my game's lagging quite a bit here. Not great. Hopefully it's just zone. Sometimes that happens where zones lag out. So as I mentioned, I want to be about 25.5 leaving here. I'm going to get that, and then I'm also looking for this dude if I can find him. I did, so we'll kill him. Then we go back to town. We've got a couple priorities looking for. We're looking for a 4-link first, and then we're looking to upgrade our shield. So with the 4-link, what I like to gamble is the chest, most of all, and we're just going to gamble a armor base to see if we can get one. And we get one right away. The one downside of this one is it's got life on it, which sort of messes with our PT amount. That's okay, I'm sure we'll manage. Let's get our gear on there, and then you can do MAME support or added fire. I'll probably just end up doing MAME support. And eventually we'll change that out to something different as well.
I can't do this just yet.
Now, I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the Lapis Amulet. Eventually, I want to end up using the Jade Amulet instead of the Lapis. Intelligence is not like the biggest requirement on a Shield Crush class. You can have some intelligence requirements eventually, but for campaign purposes, you know, we will just continue on with trying to keep our int relatively minimal to what we need to, like, get our heralds going and you know, otherwise equip like a curse, for example. So with that in mind, what we'll do is we will put a point into the wisdom there, and then we'll swap to the Jade Amulet.
Will come again.
Very cool. Open suffix, which is good. We like that. And then the thing I forgot to do is once we got our once we got our 4-link, what I wanted to do is gamble for a shield. I'll also check the vendor. The vendor did have the shield that we're looking for. So we will go ahead and put one armor scrap since we had one. And then what we can do is we picked up the crafting recipe from the crematorium, and that will give us percent armor. So we can just craft this right away on top of that to get the percent armor, or we could try making a rare and then crafting armor on that. We'll do it that way. We'll try making this a rare, see what we get. We got a percent armor roll anyways, so that saved us a little bit of currency by not doing that. The downside is we did just lose 9 attack speed on that shield, which is kind of nice, but whatever. Alright, our PT value is still, or our accuracy is still higher than our life, so we're good on PT. Once we get the Slayer Ascendancy, we might be able to switch PT off and instead put Arctic Armor on for a little bit of defensiveness. It's always nice since we'll end up spending a lot of time stationary and single target. We don't have anything that we need from Grav, so we can just go ahead and skip him. Typically what I'm looking for with Gravicious is, or not Gravicious, with like my XP at this point, is I want to be around level like 26 to 26 and a half entering Lunar's Temple 1, and about 27 by the time I'm in Lunar's 2, and then 28 by Piety. Nice, we get a Binding Orb. We'll save that Binding Orb for when we need a second 4-lane for our General's Cry setup that we'll do. Our General's Cry setup, as we were talking about earlier, will get going once we get to Lily in Act 6. And so we'll have Shield Crush, General's Cry, Autoexert, and then typically what I'll put on that is Maim, just so we get a little bit of extra utility, because we'll swap Maim off the links that we're using right now for Fortify instead. This also allows us to have like good efficiency and reuse of our currency that we've already spent, so we don't have to spend like a trans on something new. You don't have to have Arctic armor, by the way. You can just keep chilling with with Precision on for a while. By the time I'm in Act 6, usually I like having Arctic armor on, so that will definitely happen by then, but until then, you know, it's just preference. Alternatively, right, you can also pick up another damage aura, whether it's Herald of Purity or it is Flesh and Stone. I'll probably pick up Flesh and Stone. The reason why we do that is it just it provides nice utility. You get like the 20% increased physical attack damage taken, or attack damage taken. I don't know if it's limited to physical. Off the top of my head, I thought it was limited to physical, but and then it also gives us the versatility for when we're clearing zones. We get the DR when we're in Sand Stance.
So you've chosen to end our affair, duelist. I shall cherish your memory.
So the next shield base we're going to be looking for is we're going to be looking for the level 30 shield base, which I think is either our reinforced or girded tower shield. I think it's reinforced is what the level 30 base is called, but it's a level 30 strength base. We are playing Shield Crush Slayer.
Climb the tower, kill the Mad King. Just like the stories my mum used to read.
Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm just looking for the waypoint here after we did the trial, so I can go ahead and go do normal lab. The waypoint will always be on the 3rd level of the Scepter of God, so the level before the upper scepter. you can just log after doing the trial, but in some layouts it's faster just to go on to do the to go into the Scepter of God and find the waypoint. Wait, I didn't even do the Imperial Gardens. I'm cooked. I went straight to the that's pretty funny. I went straight to the Upper Scepter of God. Well, this was the layout where it was better to go to the trial. That's okay. That's pretty funny. Got ahead of myself. That'll happen a lot in speedruns, by the way, where, you know, you do get ahead of yourself like that and you think you've done something that you haven't done. All good, though. A little time loss here and there never hurts anyone.
An emperor must. You stand.
I'm gonna put this one point here to have a little bit of non-conditional leech, you know, because currently right now we get leech through Blood Rage for our attack damage, our physical attack damage, but we don't have any mana leech. It's always nice to have a little bit because our shield charge will actually leech us quite a bit as we go through, since we are scaling like the armor value or evasion value on our shields. So that means our shield charge is actually a little bit beefy. You'll see it throughout this run, like actually clearing packs, which is funny.
The weary traveler draws close to the end of the path. Some things that slumber should never be awoken.
Alright, so for Izaro, when there's gargoyles, I would always pretty much recommend killing one of them. If you're a caster, you might want to, or a squisher class, you might want to kill more, but one is typically enough on melee.
Such resilience. Pity the emperor who sits alone on his throne.
Malamute, thank you for the raid, man. Appreciate it. How's your PoE been going? If I remember correctly, you were doing some hardcore SSF stuff, like Uber runs, maybe.
When the time
Sweet,
comes to
easy
strike,
enough.
the emperor strikes without hesitation. When one defiles the
Okay,
entity,
now we're going to start
one
pathing
defiles
down
the
towards these
emperor.
health nodes. One thing I want to pay attention to, those health nodes, and my accuracy level is just making sure I don't exceed them. We're going to get Impact as our first Slayer ascendancy, which will help out a lot with that. Run's going pretty good. Doing commentary, so a bit slower than normal, but otherwise, you know, enjoyable.
By the goddess,
this just yet.
what ambition! Those who stand should never outnumber those who kneel.
Okay, that's bad. So I'm used to having Leap Slam here, so I'm like, I totally disrespect the lava ground all the time, because you just leap over it. That is not something you can do with Shield Charge, and I just did it again. Alright. We've got a little bit of a health potion, so why not?
An aspirant can afford to be promising. An Emperor must keep. Our throne is the most devious trap of them all. Receive your sentence. Delight in your gilded dungeon, Ascendant. Before your Emperor, you are worthy. Before the Goddess of Justice, you are worthy.
We'll quality up our shield crush because it gives us a damage on the quality. And we'll pick up impact.
And rise no jury.
We're gonna check our accuracy again. We have 998, which is good.
Time for that soon enough.
Go back to Act 2 and we'll pick up that Flesh and Stone, which we can probably start using now.
I am not. You are aware?
We'll also pick up Arctic Armor to have it for later. There's Flesh and Stone. Once we get our health nodes at Golem's Blood, what we're going to invest in after that is the accuracy wheel, and with the accuracy wheel we can like absolutely drop precision. We don't have precision turned on right now because we have enough of a buffer with getting impact, but as we keep leveling up, that buffer is going to be going away pretty quickly, so that's why we're going to prioritize getting that accuracy wheel. After we get the accuracy wheel, we'll probably path down towards the shield nodes at the bottom, and then we'll pick up a rage node so we can start getting rage. Not great, it's only one rage on hit, but it's right there. It doesn't hurt to take it, and eventually we'll spec out of it.
Welcome to the greatest of arenas, duelist. God is watching.
Hello.
I think it's time to shed the green.
Submit, heretic!
What's up, J-March? How's it going?
I can't do this just yet.
Have you ever seen the true face of God, Exile? Die in awe! The touch of God! This world is an illusion, Exile.
Nice, nice. Glad to hear. I have not actually used KF at all yet. So, you know, I only played a little bit on League Start. By a little bit, I mean like 10 hours, and I skipped most of the League due to like IRL stuff. So, I have not experienced it yet, but it looks really cool, and I've seen a lot of good builds with it, so. Something I definitely need to try out. Alright, so we are starting Act 4 now. In Act 4, basically, the big thing we're going to be doing is a whole lot of the same. We're not really making any more gem swaps for the most part. What we're doing is we're basically just trying to start setting up, looking for like a new shield at level 30 or so. I mean, the shield we have currently is pretty decent, so we don't have to do that if you don't want. Again, we're looking for the level 30 strength base. And then what we're looking to do for the rest of the act is leave the act at about 36.5 to 37 or so. In terms of XP, I typically want to be about 30.5 in Dry Lake. Right now I'm 31, so looking all good there. On a melee character, I want to make sure I pick up this craft after Vol, because it'll be an attack speed craft, which could be useful to get a little bit of attack speed. If, for example, you have a good shield where you don't need like you don't have a prefix to craft armor or anything. So I had a little bit of a brain fart there. I can't remember if I picked up that craft, or maybe I didn't migrate properly here. So they're faster in different ways. This one's probably faster because you don't have to do library. At least to me it feels that way. But the smoothness, I kind of like the play style a little bit more of the Cyclone Shockwave versus the Shield Crush. I love Shield Crush too, though, so don't get me wrong. Okay, perfect. Thank you for letting me know that I actually picked it up. I went on the doc ran about picking it up, and I totally, it's like, wait, did I actually pick this up? And I didn't. One thing you want to do in campaign is to click the sulfite nodes. If you come directly across them, I wouldn't go out of my way like a couple rooms over to go find a sulfite node, but if there's one in your immediate vicinity that you see, it's very useful to click on them because there is a chance to get the 10 alteration diff card, which is a nice little bit of currency on Link Start, especially if you're playing like a melee class that requires weapon crafts. We don't here. That those 10 alts come in clutch at making weapon crafts way easier.
Practice makes perfect. Spirit is spent.
So here, basically, by the time I'm trying to enter Duresso's Dream, which is to be the first zone that we do, I am going to be looking to hit 32. If you're not 32, that is okay. You probably want to spend a little bit of extra time to shore up your XP a bit. And you can do that by just killing a few extra mobs in Duresso's Dreams. Essentially, the big reason why we want to start fixing that is once we start getting into late Act 3 into Act 4, Act 5, that's really when we can start developing XP issues if we don't keep up with stuff. And they take a little bit longer to fix than they do earlier because you require more XP for each level. If you are having XP issues, what I recommend you do, outside of killing a little more in Duresso's Dream, is once you get to the waypoint on sort of the right pathing here in the Grand Arena, you go do the Combs side of things entirely, and you come back and kill Duresso. But here, because my XP is okay, I'm just going to push all the way through and kill Duresso right away. Okay, that is not the shield we're looking for.
People of the gutters, steal the valleys, for the slaughter is performance challenge. If yet but cool any stinking flop.
Alright, and then we're going to pick up these accuracy nodes. And then we'll use the skill point to get the accuracy mastery, and once we have that, we can fully drop PT and not worry about it again until the second half of the campaign, probably. Late in the second half. We'll see. I've done this build at a league start before. I did this at the 326 league start. Worked out fine, but we'll run it back. We might be going on eventually to do the Exarch segment, but it will be a segment. I will stop after the Act 10 portion of this and do the Exarch segment at a later point. Thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it.
Swords is not your passion enough to claim a crown. For glory!
I should have actually ported out there. It's a little bit of time loss to log. Instead, if you want to save portals, it's not a big deal. But because I wanted to go turn in the quest, it would have been faster to portal out instead. We will try and gamble for the 30 base here. I'm not going to spend a ton gambling on it. Maybe like a couple more tries. Alright, we didn't get it, but we got this, and that looks pretty good. It actually has less armor than our current shield. So we will just sell everything, and then we will try and get our next shield at level 42 in Act 5. The next shield that we're looking to get is an enamel buckler. One thing to consider with that is enamel buckler has a 103 dex requirement, so we want to make sure we have enough dex. Here we definitely do, because we have a Jade Amulet, and we path to the right, and I'm pretty sure I have Dex on my belt from that Sorrow Essence earlier, which also helps. So we're looking good on the Dex portion of the requirement for an enamel buckler at level 42. We definitely pick those up. I don't like the fact that they're magic, because they don't have an open suffix for me. What I can do to fix that is I can actually just use an alteration on them. I don't have like a huge use for alterations outside of getting my general cry setup going once we get to Act 6. So we spent one alt and we got 19 cold res. That is a very worthy investment there. And also there's a little bit of flat evasion right on there. It's better than nothing. We got the shortest Combs Stronghold layout, which is great. There are 4 layouts in Combs Stronghold. It's pretty easy to actually read which way you need to go. See this little hump on the wall? If it's pointing to the left or to the west, that hump right there along the wall that I'm mousing over with my cursor, then you want to head to the left side of the map, and you'll find the stairs right away. If that hump is pointing to the right, which it will in 3 of the layouts, you want to go to the right side of the map to find the stairs leading up. Here, because it pointed to the left, we head to the left to find the stairs leading up, and we got the best Combs Stronghold layout. And it's the only one where that hump will point to the left, the other 3 will point to the right.
There'll be time for that soon enough.
Okay, we can get rid of that stuff. We'll keep that for later, because that's actually a pretty good belt. We just got to remember that it's in there. Thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Alright, we'll pick up Golem's Blood here. And then we're going to path down towards those shield nodes. What actually we can do is we have a bunch of refunds available. We can spec out of this stuff. We can kill whatever's attacking us, and then we can spec the nodes down here, and we want to do that because those nodes give us attack speed, which is always great for a speedrun, and especially for something that doesn't have a really good scaling vector on the shield base itself. The Shield Crush has no way of, like, you know, locally increasing the attack speed like you do with one-handed melee weapons. Two-handed melee weapons are just relying entirely on global increases. We'll go over here. We're gonna pick up sort of a 1-point wonder here and get that one rage on melee head. It's not going to be super useful when, like, clearing things, for example, or shorter boss fights, but on anything that's longer, when you have, like, pretty decent uptime or there's ads around usually, we will be able to maintain our rage, which is nice. Okay, we're about 35.5, which is great for Paidia. Usually I like to be about, like, just about 35 here. Or like 35.25, so we're a little bit over XP'd. But we have a little more than I want, which is always nice to have that buffer. You want to hit 36 by the, like, 36.5 by the end of the act, which should be pretty reasonable to do here. 36.5, 37. You want to make sure you're in the right stance. I've been kind of slacking on that, being active and making sure that I have stance on for clearing and then blood stance for single target. Usually what I end up doing is just having blood stance on all the time, but sometimes I do switch to stance and I forget to switch back to blood stance on single target.
This thing.
Lovely material. Such lovely material.
Okay, we got 2 4 links there. That's pretty cool.
Flattery will get you no.
Don't have to worry about gambling for 4 links. One of the nice things is they are both like white items, so I don't have to worry about I can just, like, you know, essence them up. So what we'll do with that is we will take this one, we'll put this anger essence on it to get some fire res. We also got a little bit of intelligence, which is nice because it'll allow us to scale a couple other gems up where normally they would stop, like Hero of Ash will stop at a certain point, but we'll be able to scale it up a little more with the extra intelligence.
I believe in traveling light. I didn't catch a word of what you said, Joey. That's probably just... I can't do this just yet.
Dissection time.
I believe in traveling light. Wonder. Take comfort, Meligado.
These are all 37, like 36, 38, it's kind of funny.
More when he's dead.
Just sitting there, waiting.
You.
In terms of the gems that we get for the end of the act, it doesn't really matter what you take from the 34 gems. You can take Stone Golem, for example, for a little bit of extra regen. I don't typically bother with Golem too much. I find that I have too much socket pressure to worry about it. And then you can also take Multi-Strike from the final like gem support quest that you get, the 38 gem for opening the Belly of the Beast. I typically won't as I talked about earlier, I won't use multi-strike in this run because it kind of like messes with the clearing too much. But I definitely end up using multi-strike like deeper into maps on Shield Crush.
Now, let us see if you truly understand what it means to be Nightmare. I gave my life. Nightmare gave me so much more.
One of the annoying things about this Malagaro, or Malachi fight, not Malagaro, Malachi fight here is every time he goes immune, he clears your mark. So if you're using marks, you always make sure you want to reapply it when you start fighting him again after the hearts go down, or a pillar of the heart goes down.
Nightmare is the true eternal. Why? You're so in love with death.
And then after we kill him, we want to portal out if we have extra portals because it's faster than logging. If you log to save a portal, it's not a big deal. Just a little extra time save. So we'll pick up multi-strike, which we'll do from Oyun here, or sorry, Diala. And then we will ignore the other one because I don't really care about 34 gems. So here with 36 going into Act 4, which is good. 36.5 would have been more ideal, but like 36 and like about 20% is totally cool too.
This is not exactly how I
Alright, we're gonna get our rage node. Eventually, once we get to a better rage cluster, we will unspec that rage node, but until then, we'll just use a 1-point wonder there. What we're going to be picking up next is the onslaught nodes to give us the extra speed, and then after that we will pick up cloth and chain in preparation of making sure our resistances is solved for the start of the second half of the campaign. Oh, there's an enameled buckler. That is the base that we're looking for. It's a level 42 item off the top of my head. That requires 42. Here, what I like to do, decide what ring I want to take, because I look at my two highest reses. My highest reses are fire and lightning, so I will take a fire and lightning gem, and I'll look to replace the lightning ring that I have over here. Okay, this one has an open suffix, and it gives us a little bit of life. That's all good. We'll put that on. We don't need precision on at the moment, so we can just go ahead and eat that. We can do that. Nice. And we'll keep going. We'll look at what we got on this. We got increased evasion rating, which is great. That's what we wanted from this shield anyways. So that thing is pretty much already all set to go. We'll make sure that we don't have any socket issues by swapping like the gems that are on my shield right now, and eventually we will swap onto that once we get to level 42. Speaking of level 42, that's about the level I want to be leaving this at. Ideally, we'll get there before Katava, because we'll be able to swap on that new shield, which will help our damage a lot.
I can't do this just yet. Daring dark and dingy spaces. Science.
That's not my favorite layout in that particular zone, that's for sure. I think most of the other ones are like easier to navigate, or ones that I remember easier. So with that goal in mind of trying to hit 42 before the Katana fight, you know, what I'm really looking to do is stopping for like blue packs as I run across them, and we'll also XP pretty heavily in the Chamber of Innocence.
I should think of something flashy to say to the judges at Exarch before I kill you.
I mentioned that I wanted to do the Onslaught nodes next. I'm actually going to do Cloth and Chain before doing the Onslaught nodes, but I will be getting the Onslaught nodes after Cloth and Chain. Okay, I like to be about 38 when I start the Chamber of Innocence. We are about there, so not a big deal. Right where we want to be. And then we'll just sort of go up all these platforms to try and pick up the rare blue packs, the rares or the blue packs. Because typically there'll be at least a blue pack on each of these like platforms that you come across. The raised areas. Sometimes there'll be multiple blue packs, which is great.
I can't do this just yet.
Yeah, you got about a level and a half in here. Pretty good.
The world must be cleansed of impurity.
After I get the Onslaught nodes, I'm going to get the life nodes that are right below PT.
The Emperor.
And then I said earlier I was going to pick up the Accuracy Mastery. I haven't done that yet, and it looks like I have enough of a gap where I don't need to do that yet, but after the life nodes I will pick up the Accuracy Mastery. So that'll be sort of like the pathing for the next few levels. Then after we get done with that, we'll finally start pathing towards Rage nodes, and that'll also put us in the vicinity of more life nodes, so we'll pick those up as well.
This is
Aw, man, didn't phase him in time. Yeah, so I am on a different account right now than that build. So unfortunately, because I wanted to preserve the state of the Shockwave Cyclone Slayer, so I could do the segment for Exarch, at a different point, kind of like I'm going to do with the run here. I had to use a different account, and I didn't go ahead and update the account the integration was linked to. Man, that was... Gotta focus up a little bit. That was dumb. Way too close, we'll put it that way.
Saved me the trouble of burning this place down.
Dude, what in the absolute fuck just happened there? It's unlocked by the magma orbs.
I wanted to raise the place, but this is just excessive.
So we're level 40, which is good. That puts us in like a reasonable shot at being level 42. By the time we do Katava, we'll probably pick up like half a level in this zone and maybe like a quarter of a level in the Rune Square, or City Square. Then Reliquary is usually good for about a level and a quarter if you're focused on getting XP from it. And if you don't get all the XP you need from there, you can also get a little more in the rooftop area. So I feel pretty confident we'll hit our XP breakpoint that we're looking for, which is 42 before Katava again, so we equip our new shield, which will help us bop them a little faster. We can also, as I'm like going through, what I want to start doing is paying attention to my res. My res looks like it's in a pretty decent spot for the most part. My inventory is kind of full, so I'm actually just going to turn some stuff in right now, so I don't have to worry about space constraints. I'm going to move all the sockets off the shield that we're going to swap off eventually.
Farewell.
Then we can actually upgrade this. Cool.
Thank you.
We'll pick up our granite flask. We'll get it on. Drop that mana flask, and then we'll go to the Rune Square. We'll drop a portal in the middle of the Rune Square, and then we'll take the waypoint back from the Reliquary, because it just helps save us a little extra time. Like, getting back to the waypoint in Reliquary is not that difficult versus, like, how long you have to sort of go through in City Square, the Rune Square. Soon run across pretty much any blue packs in that zone, so our XP is a little less than we wanted to from there, so we will just spend a little extra time in Reliquary, which is okay. Reliquary is an absolutely fantastic XP zone. That and, you know, Chamber of Innocence. So those are really the two areas in Act 5 where you can fix a lot of your XP issues. The other area that's actually pretty good for XP is the Slave Pens, which is the first zone. There's a lot of blue packs there as well. So like if your XP is like scuffed as hell coming from Act 4, you can spend a little extra time in the Slave Pens as well. when we go back to town, I want to make sure that I like do my res crafts here instead of doing them after Act 6, just because on my mind. And sometimes when you go to Act 6, you kind of forget that it's happened to me before, so.
I can't do this just yet.
Obviously turned out great for me. Running around with like the resist penalty in the second half of the campaign with beginning to do crafts after Katava. So good to have cues like that where you like, you know, do your res before doing Katava, or you know, always make sure you do your res after returning or entering Act 6. Okay, we're gonna need more cold res and more lightning res. So let's get lightning res on our chest. That brings us to 83. I'll put lightning res on this ring. That'll get us to 99. And then we have the belt that we can use on cold res to get us capped for the second half. And finally, we have an Opic suffix on that guy, which we'll use for the lightning res. So we are all set for the second half of the campaign. And then we're finally going to put, well, we were going to put movement speed on those boots, but apparently those boots were already maxed out in terms of what they could have on them. So no movement speed for me.
Do this for freedom.
Alright, we have our onslaught wheel. We're going to click the accuracy mastery here. And then I said we were going to go over towards the rage nodes, but I was not accurate about that. We want to get the reservation mastery going. That's right by PT, to allow us to get an extra aura on. In this case, we'll be putting on Arctic armor, which will help with freezes and, you know, taking some damage when we're stationary, which is essentially anytime we stop to use movement skill or stop to use shield crush.
Now seems a good time to question my life decisions.
Didn't quite make it to 42. Bit of a shame. How it works sometimes. One thing that's annoying, by the way, about Katava is Katava's hitbox is super weird for shield crush, and like it does not do the like proper amount of damage that it should do. Now, I don't know if it's the hitbox or the way armor works in this game. It might be a function of armor reducing it. I don't know how much armor Katava has off the top of my head, but anytime I shield crush, like my damage feels significantly lower on Katava than like it has on any other boss at this point. So, Doc Rant conspiracy there. Jesus, that was close.
I can't do this just yet.
My new shield has 300 more flat evasion on it, or like for the purpose of shield crush, like the flat value that you need to get like the stacks, like the bonus on the gem. It's crazy. Bro, can you phase? Jeez. Alright, nice. Got out of Act 5 with 0 deaths, all the passives that we need. They're res capped for the second act already. Actually, we're too short for fire res. That's not a big deal, though. We just put that on our boots.
But it cannot be extinguished.
Is this what losing a fight feels like? Ugh.
Remember?
Alright, so we want to do Lily here to get our General's Cry setup going that we're eventually going to have. When we do General's Cry, we are going to be dropping a few things. Like Decoy Totem, we won't really need anymore.
Time for an on.
What we're looking to buy from Lily, like I said earlier, and we'll just go over it again, is we're looking to get our Shield Crush General's Cry setup going. To do that, we are going to need to get General's Cry, we're going to need to get Auto Exertion, we have Shield Crush leveling up in our offhand. We're going to put main that is currently in our links for Shield Crush into the General's Cry setup, and then we're going to get 4 to 5 from Lily for our main links, so we have 4 to 5 for the second half of the campaign.
I can't do this just yet.
I didn't go further enough over to be able to find the exit here. Alright, let's look at the damage difference once we equip the different shields here. Alright, so 3100, new shield, 5000. Pretty big difference in DPS. Because of the overlaps, that's actually going to equate more towards like 4000 difference once we factor in that this skill hits twice. Good chunk of change, different. We want to pick up this craft because this is a defense craft, which will allow us to craft the next tier of flat armor or flat evasion, depending on what base we're using. So typically I will do Lily either once I reach the waypoint for Lower Prison or after I kill the dope boss in Prisoner's Gate, Aberoth. In this instance, because I want to fortify a little earlier than that, I will be killing Lily, or doing the Lily quest, I should say, when I reach Lower Prison. So, very shortly. Typically, I like to be about 43 when I enter Lower Prison again, or if I'm entering for the first time, be 43. Right now, we're about 42 and like 2/3-ish, a little under 2/3, I guess. So our XP is looking decent enough for where we need to be. We'll be 43 when we return from Lily.
There's a lady in a tower.
Okay, I want to get the life nodes now. We talked about that a little earlier. I want to get the reservation nodes first, and then I'll get the life nodes, and then we'll path over to the rage nodes. You can sort of see as I've like discussed this thing, like how we path and build is a little bit flexible depending on what's going on with circumstances. Normally I would have gotten the life nodes a little earlier, but we had enough flat life on gear to like make our life total pretty decent. By that, typically I like having like, you know, around 1100 health to 1200 health entering Act 6, and that's where we're at right now. And then starting at Act 7, I like to be around like 1400 to 1500. And so essentially, in the second half of the campaign, typically I like ending around like 2100 to like 2200. And so to do that, we usually get around 200 health per act in the second half of the campaign. Not always, but usually. On most of the builds that I do. If you're playing hardcore or something like that, obviously you want to get a little more. Of course, we did the classic and we forgot someone somewhere. Okay. Man. When are we gonna get the attack from PoE 2? Well, they'll add like a highlight to a mob. Bummer. There we go.
While you be skulking about, I've managed to do a bit of hunting on my own. Got Simon.
Okay, the swap to get this stuff can take a little bit of time sometimes. So we'll do Jen's Cry here. We also want Autoexert. We want Fortify. And then we want Desecrate for our swap. And we're going to put our Gen Cry setup on these boots here. So Shield Crush, we'll pop over MAME from our main links. Autoexert there, good. Put Fortify on our main link. And then we need to put Herald of Ash somewhere. And then if you can't fit Intimidate again, it's not that big of a deal. Let's actually recolor this helmet. Okay, that works for me. Now we don't have enough links for Poacher's Mark. That's fine. We will get Vulnerability instead. Get that equipped. We will put Herald of Ash back on. Alright. So right now the only thing we're missing is one red socket. So we'll just go ahead and get that lined up. That last red socket is for Intimidating Cry. So we should be all set on everything. Set my shield charge. Where the hell is my shield charge? Go. Alright, cool. Thank you so much for the follow there. Appreciate it.
Strongest metal of them all.
Alright, so the next things we're looking to do in this act, we have a breakpoint at 43 for being in here. By the time I end the act, I like being about 46. Your XP is going to look a little scary for a while, but you're going to get a lot of XP in the last two zones of this act. Because there is a ton of blue packs in that gauntlet event that you have to do, the escort event, and then there is an absolute crazy amount of blue packs in Brine King's Reef, usually. The only issue with Brine King's Reef is the zone can be quite short if you know how to navigate it properly. We don't quite have enough reservation to put on Arctic armor yet. That is okay. Eventually we'll get there, but we'll leave it in our links for now. If you can, you want to avoid leveling up Desecrate because of the extra mana costs. I pretty much always do an accident and then it gets like way more cost than it needs. If you're having socket pressure, a good gem to drop is that Intimidating Cry. I actually don't even have it on one of my gems right now. Intimidating Cry, Decoy are all great gems to drop if you need the space. Alright, nice.
Always a pleasure, milady.
Now we're finally gonna get those life nodes I was talking about forever ago. Always want to Desecrate at the start of a boss fight. Usually there's a little bit more wind-up time or like RP time where you can get it off without like the boss hitting you in the face like the goat did there, but happens.
The spirit is spent.
What's up, Buffalo? How's it going?
With the road to the free, stay sharp out there.
In terms of the Pantheons, on any class that's going to end up being stationary a fair amount when doing single target, I like keeping the Pantheon for Tucahoma on. If you don't like that or you want a different Pantheon, I recommend the one that we're just about to go do. The Raslatha one. I think it's Raslatha, right? Whatever the one for the Spitty guy we're doing that's coming up that gives us the flash charges if we haven't used flash recently. That one's also good, and then typically we'll just keep the Brine King one on for the axe for a little bit of stun immunity in case we get stunned so we don't get chain stun. If for some reason you have stun immunity on whatever build you're playing, you can instead take one of the other major Pantheons.
I can't do this just yet.
Okay, we finally right-clicked off of Desecrate, so it's good. Okay, click Tucahoma on, pick up the passive point, and then get out of town. Alright, next points we're going to spend. We're going to finish off this health wheel. And then to be able to afford putting Arctic armor on too, on top of all the other ores that we have, is we're going to pick up the reservation nodes for the stances that are on our path already. So what you end up noticing is the tree for this is pretty tight. In terms of like minimizing travel nodes, which is nice, because it makes your build pretty potent for the campaign. And then, you know, once you have more access to like passive points and respecs or whatever, you can start spreading out more to get more impactful nodes that aren't like all that great to take in campaign because it just requires a lot of traveling to get to. if you don't want to bother with the general scry setup at all, I kind of like doing it in campaign. Obviously, once you get into maps, it becomes less relevant, and it's better just to get another like a more potent reservation if you can in there, like Pride. So eventually we'll end up dropping the general scry. It's just nice to have during campaign for the single target supplement. But if you don't want to bother with a general cry setup at all, you can just put Herald of Purity instead. It'll work fine. Or if, you know, you end up getting enough reservation, you can put Pride in.
My spirit is spent.
Alright, so now with the stance reservation stuff, I have pretty much what I need for reservation stuff for the rest of the act. If I need to get PT on again at a later point, which I don't think I will, since I have 2200 accuracy, if we go into either Exarch after this in a different segment, then I will need to think about my accuracy more, but my accuracy level for the rest of the campaign should be pretty much set. And if it's not, we can always put on PT, like I said. Or not PT, Precision. Okay. That explains why my manas are always so cursed. I have an instant flask on. I could not figure out for the life of me why my mana felt so bad. But I had an instant flask, and now I have an enduring flask, which sucks on. Mana from health? Really? This flask is farming me right now. Okay. All good. Not tilted anymore. The flask is actually properly a flask now. Alright, so the next time we're going to be looking to upgrade our base is at level 51 with the Strength Shield. So we'll gamble for that as well, or check the vendor. But otherwise, XP is looking good. We're at 46. Hopefully we can get to 47 by the end of this. You want to be about 46.5 to 47. Exiting Act 6, so we're in a good spot. We'll probably pick up, like, at least a third of a level in here. Which will put us in a good position to be where we need to be at the start of the next act. Because we have Arctic Armor now on, we can sort of open boxes with impunity. The only other mod that we have to pay attention to is the Detonate Dead bed. The Detonate Dead mod.
I can't do this just yet.
So strong, so dedicated. Man like you would never disappoint a lady in need. You're a gift, don't you see? A sumptuous feast for His Majesty on his wedding day. Really, we are both so touched by your generosity.
Alright, when I go to X7 here, I want to make sure I put on the Pantheon for the Greater King, or the Brine King, as I leave here. Everything's looking pretty good, XP-wise and gear-wise. I could potentially recolor my sword and link it up to get an extra red socket, but... Okay, we'll pick up this essence in case we get a good shield. So you want to be 47 by the time that you're entering the Chamber of Sins again. Here we'll easily get that since we're at 46, but just the reference of trying to be 46, like about 46 and a half by the time that you're leaving Act 6 will put you in a good position to get the XP thresholds you need throughout Act 7. Hey Vexus, how's it going? We'll pick up this whetstone because we can convert the whetstone to an armor scrap to buff our shield up at the vendor. Going for that skip there, by the way, was not intentional. There is a skip in both Felshine ruins in the first half and the second half. It's not always there, and it's a pretty brief skip. So I just happened to get a little lost while I was chatting. Here in this zone in particular, one of the things I want to mention is that you always want to get the waypoint. And the reason for that being is it's very tempting to go into the lower area to get the item that you need for Malagar or Sanctum, because usually the way you'll path to it in most of the layouts for the crypt will take you right by it. So you want the waypoint in case you go get the item first and you forget about the trial entirely, and you learn later that you didn't have the trial when you go to do Merc Lab. So, little tip there: always make sure you pick up the waypoint for this zone.
I can't do this.
Fortunately, it's right there at the entrance. So, nice, man. I'm glad to see that you're keeping at it and you're improving a bit. It's always good. So one of the things to mention in the second half of the campaign is the mob density goes up a lot. However, also your XP requirements go up a lot. So as you get into the later acts, you really want to start focusing more on killing blue packs than normal packs. Obviously, the stuff that if you run into a large normal pack, kill it. You'll see me doing it, but definitely stop for blue packs that are on your way. Help maintain your XP through the entirety of it. Because if you start skipping a lot of blue packs in the second half, or a lot of rares, and just rely on killing the normal packs, you're gonna end up in a little bit of XP issues. The other thing we're going to be looking to do pretty soon is we're going to be looking to get our next base from either the vendor or from gambling. And to do that, we want a level 51 before we start gambling. We can start finding it from the vendor a little earlier than that, or even from mobs a little earlier than that. But to gamble it, we want 51, which is the girded tower shield. Pick up that whetstone again because it converts into a armor scrap, which is useful for increasing our damage that we get from our shield. cannot express my profound disappointment enough at the fact that I am literally 1 HP off 1337.
Me, artist, but who's
That is a tragedy. So close, but so far.
There is a fine line between consideration and hesitation.
I can't do this
The former is wisdom, the latter is fear.
Saltador, nice. Or we'll just leave it there since that's not like a normal drop that you're gonna get. Bye, Exalted Orb. Obviously, an actual league start scenario, I'd pick that up. Okay, we've got 17 portal scrolls, which should be enough for the rest of the campaign, so we'll stop now. Usually I like to have around 10 portal scrolls in the second half of the campaign. Obviously, if you're going to maps, you can pick up more. But we'll just chill with 10 for now. Or 17 for now, excuse me. So typically, you want to be 48 by the time you're doing the boss here. We've got that already, so our XP is still looking good. Then, in terms of like breakpoints that I like for leaving this act, I like to be about 50.5 to 51. Not off the top of my head, I'd have to look at it. I haven't played the new champ, by the way, at all, so, because I skipped this league in particular, to take a break, since I hadn't taken one in a while for PoE. So, yeah, I'd have to play around with it a bit. I mean, obviously some things would still be the same. You take the adrenaline node first, but...
my spirit is spent.
So for this zone, again, you actually want to hug the left wall when you come back to try and find the caves, because usually most of the cave locations are on the left wall. There's a couple that are like in the interior of the map, but for the most part, in most of the layouts, it'll be on the left wall somewhere. And then typically once I find it, I like dropping a portal. If you want to save a portal, you can just do it right then and there. Otherwise, just drop a portal, and then once you get to the Temple of Decay, you just go back to town, take your portal, and go kill the Den Mother. Not the Den Mother, jeez. That's the wrong game. You'll go kill Grethkull.
I can't do this just yet.
So I did another run earlier today on a different account that I paused for. I paused because I was going to go back and do an Exarch run, but in a different segment for it. So I had to use a different account for this run. So I'm going to do the same thing for this account. I'm actually going to do an either Exarch run. With this, for the most likely, maybe I don't end up doing it, but so I just needed 2 separate accounts to have, like, preserve the fresh mapping experience for both characters. Yep, I will definitely put the Act 10 portion for both of these runs on YouTube. And then I'm probably planning on doing one more commentary run, and putting it on YouTube as well. So, I'll have 3 commentary runs going up, and the theme of the commentary runs are going to be duelist builds. So, I'm undecided on the last one. I will probably do a Bleed Slam run.
Keep your wits about you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Alright, let's go get Merc Lab. So, in terms of the labs, one of the things that you want to think about with Merc Lab is we mentioned in the first one, normal lab, that you want to kill at least 1 gargoyle. If you get a gargoyle, sometimes more if you're in a squishier class like a caster. But starting with Merc Lab, you can start getting essences, I believe. I don't think you get essences in normal lab. I might be wrong on that. But you definitely don't get curses in normal lab. And I will kill pretty much 1 or 2 curses every time in Merc Lab. If it's Merc Lab, I will always kill all the 3 curses if I remember to.
Finish this.
So we have curses here, which means I'm going to stop DPSing and wait for the very least for vulnerability to pop up. So vulnerability is the last one to pop. That's okay. A little time loss, but it just makes things way safer.
You were born.
Of course. Of course I mentioned that. And I ended up phasing Azaro before I killed that thing. I didn't expect that thing to be that tanky. I might have tried DPSing it too early, to be honest, because I think the first hit that I had Intimidating Cry up for the Exertion, hit Azaro, but it did not hit the box. That's okay. We've got block. It'll be fine. Surely, right? We've got block and evasion. Not a problem.
I can't do this just yet.
Got a bunch of skill points lingering too that we need to put on, so we'll go on that. Yeah, damage is very good right now. Corpse generation. So I have General's Cry going now. So just to make sure that I have corpses early on before like the boss summons ads or whatever, I'll put a Desecrate down. For some bosses, I'll put multiple Desecrates down. So like for example, when we do Dodri in Act 8, you'll see me put 3 down. The reason why I put 3 down is because she sort of can like spawn in 1 of 3 places. So I don't know what I just did. I think I went the wrong way. That's okay. I really have no idea where I am. Yes, they're also shield crushing. And the reason why, so you can do one of 2 things with your Gen Cry dudes. You can do shield charge or shield crush. Unfortunately, there's not really much else you can do because we don't keep our main hand weapon updated. It's just a stat stick for the accuracy. The global accuracy implicit. Pretty much anything you put on this is going to be poopy. I guess you could do Elemental Hit, because Elemental Hit doesn't rely on physical damage whatsoever, but that sounds not very good. Put it that way.
Academic. You are inexhaustible. Empires are forged in stone and fire.
So yeah, typically I will put them on Shield Crush instead of Shield Charge. Shield Charge is okay, actually, if you can stay at max distance from the boss. But the issue is, since we're Shield Crushing, that's not possible. Something I was actually thinking about maybe trying at some point with like an SST run is actually having the Gencry Shield Charge bros just running around. It's kind of funny. Because with Spectral Shield Throw, you're often way more at distance, so... I'm lost again. This lab was not the most accurately navigated.
An aspirant can afford to be promising. An emperor must keep. A throne is the most devious trap of them all.
I can't do this just yet.
Yeah, I have not played SST in a long time, so that's also another reason why it sounds like as an interesting idea or concept to try. I'm going to check the vendor here for our next shield base, which again is a girded tower shield. Might not have it, but doesn't hurt to check. He does have a girded tower shield, but it is a alteration, and we would have to...
Go with my help is the spirit.
We can take care of that. So, we're gonna make two alts from
Keep your life to
our augments. So we have a girded tower shield that we can use. We just have to figure out some way to get an open prefix. Alternatively, if we gamble one at 51, that also works. So one of the downsides that is coming up with shield charge and the frostbank setup is in the lower levels of this zone, frostbank also often won't be able to clear the gaps that you need to clear, so you lose a little bit of time that way if you don't have like flame dash or like something like leap slam on weapon slot. But not a huge deal. There's always paths to navigate around without using those things. So.
Approach, challenger.
We got lucky and we didn't have to do any of the skips there. So typically the way it works is one of the diagonals to cross the zone will have like the broken bridge pieces that you can't cross with frostbank, and the other diagonal like path will have an unbroken bridge. So I have not studied this layout to be able to figure out which one's which. Just kind of do it live to figure out where's which. So we somehow managed to hit in all three of the Temple of Decay layouts. The diagonal that we wanted that was unbroken. That's kind of funny. Thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Alright, so we are 51, exiting Act 8, which is, or Act 7, excuse me, which is great. We wanted to be at least 50 and a half, but being 51 is even better. 51 and some change. Alright, now we're going to gamble for that shield since we're level 51. We have that one there already. We're just going to put it in our stash.
Good. There is nothing else.
Who do we gamble on?
Stay out of the shadows. What? Ahoy there.
Okay, let's get lucky here. Did not get lucky. We're going to sell both of those real quick. Okay. Nothing on either of those.
Could do worse.
Nice. Okay. There we go. We got this. Open prefix maybe. No open prefix, which means we actually probably want to keep gambling,
Still
which
breathing.
is a bit annoying. Check the vendor, make sure there's not one there. But yeah, we're going to keep gambling. Get one that has an open prefix. We will keep that though,
Doubt even I could sell that.
in case we don't. Okay, open prefix. No open prefix. Open prefix on this one. Perfect. So we got one that we wanted with an open prefix. We'll quality that thing up.
Still
We'll
breathing.
go to Hargan here. We'll buy a bunch of whetstones from our blacksmiths, and then we'll get that. And then we'll go here and we'll craft percent armor with a alchemy orb, and we'll end up with 849 as our thing. Let's see how much DPS difference is. 5,800 to 8,300 essentially. So big increase there.
Keep your life to your own.
The next base we're looking for after this is going to be a Colossal Taller Shield, which I believe is 66 or 67. In other words, it won't be around for a while. Oh yeah, this is going to be... This should be extremely good damage. I think that's a map. We're gonna go back and actually pick that up. We might do the Exarch segment eventually. They're not quick tips that I can give you off the top of my head. Yeah, shield charge is fantastic when you're actually scaling the armor and you have shield nodes at wiping out the wipe axe. Get intimidate here. Alright, now we're going to go through the quay, or sorry, not the quay, we're going to go through the promenade here. there is the underbelly trick that you can do. The reason why I don't do it is I haven't studied it enough to know exactly where it is in each of the zones. And so it's a bit of a time loss for me at the moment versus just going through. And also I like the XP better from the Grand Promenade versus the little underbelly zone that you have. What we'll do is we'll go through all the way to the Lunaris Concourse, get the waypoint, make sure we get the bathhouse waypoint as well, and then we will go back to the quay and do the quay side entirely. So in case you're wondering, part of the reason why we don't just go through like all the concourses entirely and over the broken bridge is because those zones kind of ramp up a lot in XP. Or sorry, not XP, but like monster level. And if you're under leveled at all, you end up losing a lot of XP by going through those zones instead of going through what I'm doing right now, which is Grand Promenade, and then going over to the other side. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. So we're pretty much done. We have one more set of damage nodes to pick up, and then we'll be done for damage nodes for the rest of the campaign, probably. The other things we'll be investing into are block nodes. So like we can have some level of defensive layers, like a better defensive layer set up with our block. I don't know why I'm going to Lunaris 2, that's not what I was talking about earlier. Sorry, autopilot there for a second. Got to the Lunaris Concourse, got the waypoint, and then we'll go back to the quay and do the entire right side of Act 8 here, all the way up to the point when we get the quest item from Solaris 2. The Sun Orb, I think it's called. There's only 3 zones, 3 layouts for the quay, but basically, to never miss the quest item, you always want to just hug the left wall, because it's impossible to miss it when you're hugging the left wall. And then eventually you'll come across those arches there, which will lead you to the quest item that you need to find.
Give it to me quick.
Also, because we have the Intimidate now, I'm actually going to end up dropping Intimidate and Cry. The double bonus is nice, but essentially the opportunity cost of like War Crying is not necessarily worth it as much since we have so much attack speed. We have Intimidate from elsewhere. I am, however, going to bring my decoy totem back, just so I have something to soak up a little bit of hate that's not me. And then the final thing that I'm going to be paying attention to as I go through, and you know, as I transition into maps, is I want to pay attention to my accuracy with PT relative to my health, and then I also want to think about whether or not I want to equip something like Warm Shield? That's not the right name of that skill. Tempest Shield. To get immunity to shock and some spell block to sort of end up with nearly capped block by the time I'm entering maps. To do that, we drop a little bit of damage, but that's okay because our damage is pretty good, and I kind of personally prefer losing a little bit of damage to have better defenses and mapping, because I kind of bugs me when I die. If it doesn't bug you, no big deal. Keep those damage rewards going. Basically, because we have to worry about our precision again at some point as we keep leveling up and getting more health naturally and getting health nodes on a tree. Our accuracy is not going to keep up quite as much, so if we do end up going to maps, what we'll probably end up doing is picking up a second accuracy node to just literally not have to worry about it much at all. Yeah, but going back to the thing about doing the underbelly, like if you are confident that you know where the location of the underbelly is and your XP is good, and you know how to navigate the underbelly properly, you should probably do the underbelly pathing instead of the pathing that I did. So there's kind of like three conditions there, right? You got to know where the entrance is located in the Grain Gate, you got to know how to navigate the underbelly, and your XP has to be in a sufficiently good place, right? So like your XP is pretty poor. By poor, I mean, for example, like if you're level 51 still, by the time you get there, you should not be doing the underbelly because there's just not enough mobs in there to like keep your XP in a decent spot. We had a free essence there, and you know I'm still using like a pretty early chest piece. The defensive stats from chest pieces are pretty important on melee for early mapping. Ever since they, you know, nerfed Grace and D-term, so yeah, I think Shield Crush is pretty great. You know, especially like there are a bunch of people in like a trade league, for example, that end up playing like a crit Shield Crush with the Emperor's Vigilance Shield, and those builds all seem like, I'm gonna say very guardedly, like have like a reasonable level of DPS for most things and have like reasonable defenses. So, and in general, it's a pretty comfy skill. That is not me claiming that that is like the best build or anything like that. I just think it's like a reasonably good and fun, enjoyable take on playing a Shield Crush build. The unfortunate part about that is you can't really do that in SSF so much because, you know, you don't have a way of reliably guaranteeing that you're going to get the Vigilance, or Emperor's Vigilance. Okay, we're going to go pick up these nodes over here. We want to make sure that we get the block node, which is that one. Nice that we picked those up before doing the high gate area because we get a little extra block, but more importantly, we get endurance charge generation from that node. So we'll have some endurance charges as we're going through that zone, which will help us deal with mitigating some of the crap from the porcupines.
Allow your wisdom to be tempered by the flames of the past.
Also make sure to be in sand stance here, because I am not in sand stance, which means we take extra damage that we don't need to. Let's move back. Pick pick up these fusion orbs, which is turn them into chances, which we can use to buy maps. Iraq. Next thing we're picking up is the health and armor node that is right by those shield nodes that we just picked up. So in terms of the final ascendancy that we're going to take, we're probably going to take the Overleach ascendancy. And the reason why we're going to take that one is that if we're going on to maps, more beneficial to have the extra defenses versus the extra damage. At least that's my preference. Some people will take the Giga Coal instead, and I think that's the perfectly fine choice. But I just like having the extra sustain from Overleach and the damage reduction that's built into that node as well. And you can always do, you know, obviously, like in an actual league start scenario, you would do Uber Lab. You don't have to like delay doing Uber Lab on league start. In like an Exarch run, like, you know, typically you will end up delaying it or not doing Uber Lab. Some people do, like, you know, bow classes is helpful to do. Deadeye in particular, it is helpful to do. Uber Lab before you do your Exarch. And it's not like super long. The only problem is you can easily get farmed in Uber Lab, like in a speed run. Oh, I thought the path that ended up there. I didn't see that I continue on. It's okay.
Do this just yet.
Make sure to pick up that Divine Life Flask. I am getting uniques dropping like crazy right now. I don't know what is going on. Got places to be with shield charge, man. Not my fault these mobs are paper sometimes. Okay, we're gonna see if maybe we can swap that off. Does that mess with anything? It does not. Gives us extra life. Very good. Let's click those nodes. Nice. Alright, so now we're going to start clicking some block nodes. God, shield charging in Blood Aqueducts is one of the best feelings of all time. It's great. Very much appreciated the experience there. Alright, so I didn't really mention it, but typically with Act 8, I like to exit Act 8 around like 55 or 56. Here we were about 56 when we entered, so our XP was good. And in terms of this act, I usually like to exit around like 58 and a half. Then for Act 10, we'll finish maybe anywhere from 60 to 62, just depending on how much you XP. If you want to XP a little more than that, obviously it's not a problem. There's a lot of great places to do it in Act 9 and Act 10. PA, obviously, Foothills, and then you have like Ossuary and Act 10. Or Chamber of Innocence in Act 10. And like a legitimate League start scenario, I probably might like get my character to about 64 before I start doing maps. Not super required. I think 62 is fine, but it just gives you a little bit of extra wiggle room. At 62, you'll no longer be in the XP penalty for maps at all. So I think that's like a good thing to aim for. And a lot of my Act 10 points, Act 10 Pts+Lab runs that I'm trying to finish as fast as possible. Like my goal target is around 60 instead of 62, but so here, you know, because I do plan on potentially doing the segmented Exarch after the Act 10 run, I will try and aim towards 62 as much as possible.
You die rather well.
Nice little tip here is after you get the Stormblade, you want to go directly towards the area where the Oasis is. If you do this, you can skip a couple lines of dialogue that you'd otherwise have to get in town in like one go to be able to get the Stormblade or the item to unlock this. When we come back to town, we want to talk to Sin first. If we talk to Sin first, we can directly get this quest item instead of talking to Patreus and Vanja first. It then sends us to Sin, and then we get sent back to Patreus and Vanja. So, but that only works if we discovered the Oasis first, or are close enough to the entrance to it to get the little quest banner that pops up, telling us to like go back to town or like talk to somebody to figure out how to open it. Dude, how Can I not get... That is cursed. That's a bad luck there, that's okay. I cannot believe I did not get a 3 green, 1 red, or 3 red, 1 green off that. That's pretty funny. Unfortunately, Shield Crush doesn't really have a great, like, green gem outside of, like, momentum for a little while. There's Impale support, which we have access to because we did library, but the issue with that is we'd have to finish capping our Impale, which I don't really want to do in this run. Eventually, I'll get capped Impale on this build, but it's not easy to do in a campaign. And Impale is not necessarily great at clearing, like, mobs, and that's always a consideration. For any of these builds, you want to have something that's able to clear well, as well as do single target well. Yeah, that fight was a little rougher than expected, but that's alright.
You killed.
Okay, we're gonna put both of those in there. Yeah, absolutely, you can do a 4L shield charge. That works as well. Never got around to trying that, but that could be a lot of fun. The one issue that I would have with that is that shield charge sometimes has issues with its, like, radius of the AoE effect, so... Alright, now that we got that wheel filled out, we're gonna fill out the Tetsudo? Is that what it's called? Block wheel down here. We got Tetsudo. Bro, what is going on with my mana right now? For fuck's sake. So eventually I'll end up getting the Endurance Charge and Frenzy cluster that's right there. Or the +1 Endurance and +1 Frenzy, but in the context of this run, it's not really worth it, or at least for the A10 Pts+Labs portion of it, because we have Frenzy generation already through Blood Rage, then we also have Endurance Charge generation through the notable shield passive that is this way, whatever this is called, Aggressive Bastion. Okay, so I don't remember if Frostblink is actually long enough to make the skip that I want.
An emperor must bear 2 blades. Hope in the left hand, surety in the right.
Alright, so now pretty much all we're doing is trying to hit our XP breakpoints. Like I mentioned earlier, we want to end Act 9, usually around 58.5 to 59. We're already 58.5, so we will probably end this act more around like just about level 60 or level 60, depending on how much we kill in the following zones. when we enter the quarry here, we want to always get the waypoint, and then we're going to check the right side of the quarry first, because there will always be one of the quest zone for Garo Khan or the refinery to the right, for the east side of the map. If it's the refinery, then Garo Khan will be on the left side of the map, like the left, middle to top range. If it is Garo Khan, then the refinery will be at the top portion of the map, like the top middle portion of the map. Alright, so this is Garo Khan, which means that the top right middle portion of the map will have, or the top middle portion of the map will have Garo Khan, or the refinery, jeez. Mixing up areas. The one thing I'm going to do, since I'm having a little bit of mana problems and I have an open red socket, is I'm actually going to go pick up a life tap and get a couple things on life tap. So in particular, I'm going to get my Desecrate and my Vulnerability on life tap, because those are kind of big mana hogs. You can also get your shield charge on that as well. So I meant from Lily, not from library, by the way. Alright, so life tap, where you at? Okay, here, and then we want to make sure that we find where Vuln is, and we find where cool. Got that all taken care of. Let's go back to town and turn in the quest.
Not
Nice, we're going to put these maps away too. Just kind of going there. We can throw away some of the gems that we don't need, that we've had sticking around forever now, which includes that chance to bleed, that guy, the added fire. So accuracy is good. We've got some accuracy somewhere on here that's beyond the tree on one of my gear pieces, I'm pretty sure, given how high my accuracy is. We have the accuracy mastery, we have impact. The things are looking good, but something definitely has accuracy. I just don't know which item it is. Maybe something doesn't have accuracy. My accuracy is just that good. Eventually we will have to put PT back on though. Or not PT, precision, excuse me. Yeah, that's true too. You have to worry about that as well. I hate that mod. Speaking of. Okay. Alright, so this zone is actually pretty easy to read. Surprisingly. Well, not read, but the navigation method's not crazy complicated. Basically, you're always going to have like this little elbow that shoots you out. You want to pay attention to which way the map spits you out. So here, after the elbow it spit us out to the right, we're going to follow the right entrance wall, which is this one here, pretty much all the way around the map to find the exit. If, for example, after that little fourth elbow down, it opened to the left, like the main path open to the left, we would follow the left entrance wall instead of the right entrance wall. Here, because we open to the right side, we're going to follow the right entrance wall, which is this guy here. Once we sort of get back over the entrance and far over it, you can actually just go up. That'll be where the exit is. If you keep following that right entrance wall over there, you'll end up taking a little bit of a detour, but you'll get there eventually. I have a video on that too, in case that tip doesn't stick with you, so you can see it in more detail. I will mention there is a couple times where there's like procedural layout generation RNG due to like various like league mechanics or things like that, or just bad layout RNG where like you'll get like a crazy layout that doesn't follow that rule. That is extremely rare. Oh, that was almost bad. I don't think I've ever seen her do 4 of those in a row. That's like a PB for me. Usually she'll do like 1 or 2 of those, and then she'll do the like the giant ball, and that's when you can really DPS her. But that is probably my least favorite boss in Act 9, and then after that it's Shikari. Actually, Shikari is probably my least favorite boss, but I think that boss in particular right there, especially for melee characters, is like the most dangerous boss in this act. Even though she's relatively squishy, she does insane levels of damage. Like, it feels like her tuning is actually not correct. Yeah, for sure. 100% on board with the chain lightning orbs being a little bit much. If you either, you know, like, partially address her insane damage, right? Obviously, first you can just not get hit 5-head. But, beyond that, you know, I think you can also just have her spawn less of them. Because she, like, spends, like, a good solid, like, 2-3 seconds just chunking out, like, a gajillion of those things. So here, a little tip, after we kill this guy, we want to portal out, because it'll put us right by the waypoint, and we can just use the waypoint from Act 9 to instantly go to Act 10, to avoid, like, the little, like, animation thing that happens. You don't have to do that, just a little bit of way to save a little extra time here and there. Okay, we will go straight to Act 10. Turn the music back on because YouTube auto-paused that. Alright, in terms of Act 10 pathing, there's a few options that you can take. But basically, there are 3 options, really, as I see Act 10 pathing. 2 of them involve dropping a portal in the square. One of them involves just going straight to the area that has Valentia for the skill point. I think it's Valenta. The one that I personally prefer is the following. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a portal in Rune Square, and I'm going to go all the way to the Chamber of Innocence and kill Avarius. After I kill Avarius, Reconstructed, or whatever his name is, he'll drop his staff, and then I will pick that up, and then I'll use the exit that gets generated to go back to the start of the Chamber of Innocence zone, use the waypoint back into town. In town, talk to Bannon to get him to spawn into Innocence, so he appears at the gates when we need him to, and then take my portal and go do the Valenta quest. The other options that you have is you have the option of doing the portal in the Rune Square, going to pick up this waypoint, and then just going back to town right away and doing Valenta. And then finally, as I mentioned, I think the first one is no portal at all, and just going to Valenta. The reason why I like doing my method, where you drop the portal and you go all the way to various, is it ends up with less load screens, and I kind of like the flow of it better for the act. And, you know, in terms of when you want to do lab, we want to do Valenta first, just so we have the extra power up for the skill point before we do lab. So. Hey, we're checking our XP here. We're at level 60, which is pretty good. I want to be 62 by the time I finish this act, so to be in line with that, I kind of want to be about 61 by the time that I enter Merc Lab, a little over 61 possible, which means we're going to kill quite a few mobs in this next zone. Again, just like within the first half of Act 1, or the Act 1 version of this zone, there will be blue mobs on the higher platform areas that you can kill for the extra XP. Sometimes there'll be 2 packs, but it will always be 1 pack. I'm actually going to pick up this 6 link, or not the 6 link, the 4 link there. On the 6 socket, so I can potentially make something out of that if I don't get good vendor RNG, so I have extra socket room for when we start mapping, if we do the Exarch segment. Alright, so the exit that brings us back to the entrance appears, so we'll go back to town. We'll make sure to talk to Bannon. And then we'll be good to go. We'll also talk to Lanny just to get her to get past her like RP screens, so when we turn in the skill book, it's done. So the next node we'll take with the skill block will be the keystone there for first level combatant. And that should give us a fair amount of spell block, and then on top of that, obviously, we can also put on Tempest Shield, but Tempest Shield I won't really be using, if at all, until I start mapping. What's nice about running both Tempest Shield and Arctic Armor is basically all the ailments that you really have to worry about in like early to mid-range mapping in like your solutions to them aren't really threat anymore, so obviously you still have like ignite and poison, but those are typically more manageable than getting like a bad shock or getting frozen. The other thing I should have been doing is I probably should have killed a few more like 20 and over beasts along the way, so I have the ability to get corrupting blood immunity on a life flask. Didn't do that, so incidentally I might have killed enough beasts to allow me to do that, but might not have. 67 would be the next shield, yeah, for Colossal Tower Shield.
For freedom.
Alright, cool. I'm gonna place that item in my inventory. Then I'm gonna go pick up the Merc Lab trial in the ossuary. XP is looking good here. Maybe we'll pick up like half a level in here. Or not half a level, excuse me. We'll get to about half of into 61 in here. Which will make us in pretty good shape to get 62 at the end of Act 10 from doing Merc Lab and the zones before Kataba.
Emperor must.
Alright, Merc Lab time. As talked about earlier, you know, it's your preference about whether or not you go with the Giga Cull or Overleech. I personally prefer leaving the Giga Cull to Uberlab. I like having the sustain from Overleech and the extra defenses from the 10% damage reduction.
Where there's a golden key, there must be a golden door.
Where was I going there?
Gold is the most liberating of metals.
We're probably gonna end this run probably around like 322, 323-ish. As long as we don't kill ourselves to bleeding. Those lab traps, man. Unfortunately, I have definitely ripped those before in a speedrun. Especially a speedrun I was trying to do deathless. That sucks. This zone is kind of infamous to me in terms of like zones that can ruin a speedrun, like a deathless speedrun. Because Exarch just hits so damn hard.
To a single act of power.
Alright, cool. We have capped attack block with versatile combatant, and we have like 35% spell block, which is pretty good. So charge disruptors is another Azaro mechanic that I'll always try and use to get the charges off him, because Azaro with charges is very spooky in Merc Lab for speedrun context. So basically that brings up the mechanics that I pay attention to Azaro to really for. We have the charge things, which I forget what the actual name of them is at the moment. I'll just call them charge disruptors. That mechanic, we have the gargoyles, we have the curses. In Merc Lab, I will kill all 3 curses pretty much every single time. I'll kill probably 1 or 2 of the gargoyles. And then the other one that I worry about is essences. And I'll try and kill at least 2 of the essences if it's essence. The issue with essence is that those things like just somehow like appear and you don't see them, and they just run to the Zara anyway, so.
When the time comes to strike, an emperor strikes without hesitation. The essence of an empire to enter must be shared equally amongst all its citizens.
Okay, so we have essences, so we're gonna pull and start away a little bit.
The course.
Kill this guy. And we'll look to pick up 1 more essence. Coming from the south there, so we'll pause DPS and Azaro. Kill this thing. And we'll phase him. Alright, so 1 essence up. It's not bad.
Such resilience. The sovereign leech leaves but a husk for its descendants.
Alright, so just as a housekeeping thing, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pause my timer until after I pick up the skill book in town after killing Katava. Usually I pause my timers at the resist penalty message, because if we do go on to mapping and doing the Eater Exarch run in a different segment, which we won't be doing after Katava in this particular stream, what I'll do is I'll show you my inventory, my skill tree, and like my gold value and my stash, so you can see where I'm at, and I'll pause the timer after I've done all that. And then if we resume with the segment for Eater Exarch at a different time, we'll pick up from there. But generally the things I'm going to be thinking about is obviously fixing my resistances, as well as just making sure that I use some of the gold that I have right now to gamba for 67 shields when I end level 67. But before that, I'd probably try and gamble for some better bases to start mapping with. Better bases in the sense of like have better resistances on them, because a lot of the items that I have on right now are only one mod, like only have one like resistance modifier on them, for example. Oh, there's no quality there, never mind. Got ahead of myself. Okay, overleech. Now we'll go kill Katava. It's actually going to be more like 325. We're a little slow in Merc Lab. And other portions of the zone trying to hit the breakpoint that we wanted. Might as well pick up that alteration orb. Passed it like 100 times now. We've got one final point to allocate here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take that node, and eventually we'll spec out of that attack speed. Two of the attack speed nodes on that starter path for duelists to get to these guys.
I shall strike you down.
Alright, nice. So 223, 40 or so, 45, 50. 51. Cool. Alright. As mentioned before, since we're gonna possibly do this segment, we'll go to town and we'll stop timer after we pick up the skill points. And I show you guys everything in my inventory here. Got my gold, that stuff, and my stash. Only got 4 tabs, so pretty easy. Cool. Good run.